Hi everyone, my name's Nyasa Wilson, and today's upload is not a poem or a piece of literary work like what I normally post. It's just something that I thought was worth posting, just in case I could create any sort of awareness about this. I have been a mental health professional for the past 2 years, and I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, but I am not a medical doctor. Um, so I just wanted to give that disclaimer. Um, I want to start by saying that I know that sociopathy is no longer the term that we use for people like this. The correct term would be a person with antisocial personality disorder. And I wanted to share my experience with being romantically involved with someone whom I believe had antisocial personality disorder based on the DSM 5 criteria. He checked off all but one of the boxes for having this disorder. Um, we hear a lot about narcissists in the local media. So I just wanted to share my experience with it. For those of you who know me personally, it might sound familiar. For those of you who don't, it might also sound familiar. That's why I'm making this. So I'll just get into this. I met this individual when I was 18, and he was 27 years old. At the time, I didn't see it as problematic that a 27-year-old was interested in dating an 18-year-old. And I see why people would still see it as not a problem. But, there was something predatory about it in hindsight because at 18, there's just only so much time you've had to learn about the world and people and situations you could have been exposed to, or even literature you could have been exposed to. And people who know me well often even considered me mature for my age. However, I hadn't done much dating. And so with this person, I was very naive of all the red flags. So the first red flag that this person um, was a narcissist and someone with antisocial personality disorder was that he was 27 and I was 18. When we first met, it was right before winter break for college. So I met him, and then I didn't see him in person for an entire month. And during this month, anytime he wasn't at work or I wasn't at work, we were texting, talking on the phone, video chatting. So a lot of feelings developed within only a month, which I now realize that some of the stuff he was saying within such a short amount of time period was also a red flag, or maybe at least just a yellow flag. Like, for example, he did what I now know is called love bombing. And that's where prior to the abuse or in between the abuse, the other person is showering you with compliments or attention, affection. They're texting you back fast. Maybe they're buying you gifts. Maybe it's just a lot of seeming to care how you feel, or maybe they're saying I love you very early on. That's not always a bad sign because some people do truly feel that way about people in a short amount of time. However, the words I love you can also be used as a tool for manipulating you into believing that this person truly just grew to care for you in such a short amount of time. And that's something that can make a potential victim feel special. And that's important. So during this whole month, he was nice to me, super sweet, lots of compliments. one of the things he often said was that he couldn't believe he attracted someone who was actually intelligent and pretty and had the same religious affiliation as him. He thought that that would be really difficult. And so he felt so lucky to have met me. After that month is up, I come back from college. We meet in person, and things were good only for the first couple weeks. After that, it was red flag after red flag after red flag. First red flag was he really pressured me for physical affection. And I understand a certain amount of physical affection being desired for people in romantic relationships. However, he was very pushy about me doing things that I was not ready to do yet. And I don't even mean just sexual things, just sometimes, like, let's say maybe I wasn't comfortable with tongue kissing, he would pressure that. And you shouldn't do that. You absolutely should still be getting the person's full excited consent before you have any sort of physical interaction with somebody. And I was uncomfortable, but I did it anyways. And in hindsight, him not being bothered by me being visibly uncomfortable was a huge red flag. Um then there was his career, or lack thereof, should I say. He was only working part time at Subway and was struggling significantly financially. Um, there is nothing wrong with working in fast food. That's not what I'm saying here at all. I'm just saying that this individual was 27 and claimed to have financial problems. Yet, when I asked him, well, are you seeking full time work? His answer was no. And I said, okay, well, are you trying to move up with your current company? Which I wish I had named now that I think of it. And he was like, no. So he was just kind of suffering financially, but doing nothing about it. There was also nothing else to keep him from working full time. He didn't have any disabilities. He was highly intelligent. He wasn't going to school. Working part time at this place was the only thing he did, or so I thought. Um, as the relationship progressed, I noticed this person used a lot of marijuana. Um, like an excessive amount every day. This is not to villainize marijuana at all, because I know it has several benefits for people, especially medically and even recreational. I'm not passing judgment on that. However, he was using it excessively. And I noticed that when he was stressed about something or angry about something, that's what he would go to. So I'm now realizing this man is 27 and he has zero coping mechanisms for his emotions besides marijuana. So that should have been a red flag right there. Shoot, what was the next? The next one would be if we had a disagreement, which we started to have within 2 months of the relationship, because some of the stuff he expected out of a girlfriend that early on was absolutely ridiculous, and we didn't even live together. He would get angry and he would throw things. He didn't throw them at me, but he would throw things, he would break things. He even hurt his fist punching a tree outside one day because he was angry. Um, and that I perceived as a sign of possible violence, and that's when I started thinking, I need to leave this person. But for some reason, I still stayed with him. I know I should have been gone, but that was several years ago, and I'm older and wiser now. Um, and the breaking point where I really knew I needed to leave this person was when there was extreme pressure for intercourse, and I told him I was not ready. Um, but the pressure remained. And while engaging, this person all of a sudden reaches and turns on extremely violent. Not even while engaging, while trying to convince me to do things, while engaging and trying to convince me, he then turns on extremely violent, I think what would be considered gonzo porn. And a lot of people watch pornography and it can be okay. But he tells me that he needs this violent scenery of women just getting brutalized to, let's say, fully enjoy sex. I left the house that day. And that's not to kink shame, because there is some consensual filming of this kind of pornography going on. However, if a man tells you, I need this type of scenery of women just being in completely submissive positions, being in pain, but maybe consenting to being on pain because they're actresses, that's a red flag right there. So I left the house that night, and with most human beings, I absolutely encourage ending relationships in person. But he messaged me, I didn't answer. He messaged me again, and I just told him, look, I think you have a porn problem, and I think you need to find a way to cope with your emotions that does not include marijuana. And he got very angry, sent rant text after rant text after rant text after rant text. So I just didn't answer. He does what people typically do that are narcissists or who have antisocial personality disorder. He apologized, said he felt really bad, and that he wanted to take me out for Valentine's Day. He knew from us talking during that month that we were not in person, that I'd never been on a date on Valentine's Day. I'd never done anything special for Valentine's Day. So I decided, well, you know what? I'll give it a chance, because at this point we hadn't gone out to eat at a sit-down restaurant before, because he was spending all his money on weed and this extreme pornography that he needed, that he felt he needed. So I get dressed and I agree to meet up with him. And I meet him, and he breaks up with me on Valentine's Day in a public setting. I left, got an Uber, and went back to my dorm. After he broke up with me, I guess I thought I felt sad. The next day, I was getting angry rant texts from him about everything he thought I did wrong, even though he was the one that left me. It was so confusing. Like, if you have left someone, why am I then hearing about what he started throwing out all of the textbook labels that people use to try to get a woman upset? Who threw out the bitches, the that's not my problem, all kinds of stuff. Basically, nothing would suggest that he did anything wrong in the relationship at all, despite these texts that he would send me being absolutely irate and ridiculous, and he seemed completely out of his mind. I was done with this person. However, for a couple years following this relationship, he attempted to contact me by making new numbers, making new social media accounts. So it wasn't just as simple as blocking him. Apparently, we had mutual friends, and a few months later, I hear about how this person is addicted to a hard substance other than marijuana, which I'm not going to say because I don't want to trigger anybody. And he actually was dealing with having feelings for the friend who had introduced us. So the whole time he had absolutely zero interest in me. He was just trying to distract himself from the fact that he was in love with a woman who was his roommate, who had a boyfriend, who also lived there, and she wanted nothing to do with him. So all that love bombing he did, the stuff where he was saying he liked me, he wanted to be with me, he had feelings for me, he loved me, he saw a future with me, it was all lies. It was all part of his plot to make me feel special so he could pull me in. Thankfully, this person never got physically violent with me. You know, it was only the throwing and breaking things and smashing things, but this could have looked very different for other ladies out there. Um, I hope some of that was helpful for you, and I'm sorry that this video was so long. I wish I could have made it more compact, but I wanted y'all to get a full idea of what more subtle forms of antisocial personality disorder might look like until you really get to know a person. Be safe out there, no matter who you are, what gender you are, who you're dating. Stick to your gut feelings. If you have a bad feeling about something, maybe there's a reason. And don't stick around and wait for someone else to break up with you, was a major thing I learned. Sometimes, you know, if people have to go, they have to go. Let me know in the comments if you can relate, if any of this is helpful, or if you think this is complete trash and won't help anybody. Have a good day.